The old witch threaded the last stitch in her newest charm, sealing the blue dust inside the tiny cloth bear. She smiled, proud of her finest work yet. The family who'd received this had been looking forward to it for a while now. She knew the comfort these dolls brought to families was worth the time. The enchanted blue dust made it possible for the soul of a lost loved one to manifest in the doll and watch over their family. It wouldn't force them there, just give them a window. The witch delivered the doll to the Blakeland family, who had requested the teddy bear, so their young twins could have their late uncle close by. She handed it off to the father and left with a smile, confident that she'd made another family that much happier. She returned home and sat down to open the covers of a photo album. She kept a record of every doll she made and the families they brought peace to. This bear was the last one to fill the 46th page. She closed the book, wearing a wrinkly smile. Providing a window through which the souls of those who had passed could watch over their families was a frightening idea when she started. When she began, she could only hope that it would do as she intended. Her hopes were answered when her first customers spoke of the newfound liveliness in their homes. To her surprise, they had even heard the voices of their parents, grandparents, and long-dead siblings bringing them closure, saying that they were at peace. Some had even learned that their spirits had already been watching out for them. Late in the night, the old witch awoke to an annoying ring. She didn't remember setting her alarm clock before she went to sleep, let alone setting it to such a late hour. She pulled herself upright in bed. The ring echoed again. That's not the clock. She got to her feet and stepped into the hall. The ringing was coming from her old landline phone. Who'd be calling her at this hour? She approached the phone and answered it. Hello? Who is this? The sound of rapid breaths came through the line. Help us! A frightened voice whispered. Even through the phone and the lowered tone, she recognized the voice. It belonged to her most recent client who received the teddy bear that day. If they were calling her like this so late. What's wrong, dear? The bear you made us. Something's wrong with it. Something clattered on his side of the call. How could something be wrong with the bear? With her methods, there was no chance that she provided a window to the wrong soul, unless there was something wrong with the spirit itself. Where in the house are you? She asked her frightened client. Hiding in a closet, but I hear it getting closer. Stay there, stay quiet, I'm coming over. She hung up and rushed to grab her coat and shoes, then turned toward her studio to get a large pair of scissors. The man was right to call her about this. The police likely wouldn't be able to help. She arrived at the house, scissors in hand. With a flick of her wrist, the front door unlocked itself and opened wide. In the hall and the front room beyond, furniture lay tipped over, their drawers and cushions broken, potted plants and vases smashed on the floor, and splatters of blood stained the carpet and woodwork. None of this should have happened. The spirit should have protected the family through the bear. Heavy footsteps pounded from upstairs. The wood creaked under the weight of whatever was up there. The witch marched to the stairs and went up. She froze as her head peeked above the second-story floor. A dark, full-sized bear stood in the upstairs hall, facing away from her. It snarled and growled as its claws scratched at the floorboards. Aggression poured from this being. Her heart sank in her chest as she inspected its body and saw it covered in stitches and seams. The same stitches she herself had sewn. This was wrong. This shouldn't be. None of her other dolls had ever done this. The bear stalked away from her, just barely squeezing itself through the hallway. The witch took this opportunity to climb up the rest of the stairs and looked for her client in the other direction. She found a child's bedroom with the door broken open. A young boy's body lay torn apart on the crushed bed. The rest of the room looked no better. This was likely where the event started. She inspected the room. No closet. The client wasn't here. She shuffled to the next room in the hall. This destroyed door led to a master bedroom. The mother's body lay torn in half on the bed. A light knock drew her attention to the end of the room. A closet door creaked open, and a hand reached out to wave her over. She hurried toward it and found her frightened client inside. "What the hell happened here?" she asked in a whisper. "You said that thing was supposed to protect us, witch." She felt the fear and aggression boiling in his lowered voice. "It is supposed to protect you. This wasn't supposed to happen. It never happened before." "You must have done something wrong then." She couldn't have. Her methods were tried and true by herself and the other witches in her old coven. The intended spirit, and only the intended spirit, should have been able to enter the living realm through the doll, on account of the presence of a personal item within it. She had explained this in detail when this man first made the order. "Then why is it trying to kill us all?" "I don't know, but..." She held up her scissors. "I'm going to find out." She turned back to the doorway. "Stay here." She stuck her head out and scanned the dim hallway. The bear had reached the end and turned around. It slowly lumbered toward her, its eyes locked on hers. The wood creaked, and small vases clattered as the house shook with every step. The witch didn't move. She was afraid, but she wasn't going to let the bear see that. The bear stopped and stood over her. Its eyes beamed down on her, filled with bloodlust. "I don't know who you are, but this vessel is not meant for you." She held her scissors open, ready to slash the stitching and tear out the item and break the spell. The bear chuckled. "You wanted the spirit of Howard Blakeland, right?" She remembered that name. It was the one her client had given her when he asked her to make a doll for his brother's spirit. "Well," the bear paused and chuckled again, "you should have used something he owned." The witch's eyes shot wide open. The bandana animating the bear didn't belong to the uncle, so she'd summoned the wrong spirit. She turned around and saw her client hiding just behind the wrecked doorframe. "You said the bandana was your brother's." "It was," the frightened man hollered. "He had it with him when his body was found." The bear laughed again. "He had it because he was trying to stop me grabbing my next victim." It lurched forward, lifting a claw over its head to strike. "Your brother died a hero, and this old hag made it all for nothing. Once I'm out of here, I can do whatever I want. Who's going to believe that a teddy bear would commit a murder? No one will have to." The witch rushed forward and slashed the bear's torso. Stuffing burst out, pushing a cloud of blue dust with it. The bear swiped at her with its raised arm, knocking her into the wall. Her client darted forward and plunged his hand into the stuffing. The bear struck him with its other paw, throwing him to the end of the hall. Then, after a moment, it fell lifeless onto the floor. The witch groaned as she struggled to her feet. On the floor in front of her, the bear returned to its normal size, lying face down in a pile of stuffing and blue dust. She turned to her client. He slumped on the floor, his hand clutching the old bandana. In all of her years of doing this, she had never invited a damned soul to their family before. She didn't think it could even happen. The client clenched his fist around the strange bandana, cried out in distress, and threw it toward the bear's still body. The witch leaned her back against a wall. To think such a simple mistake could lead to summoning something so dangerous. She thought back to all of the other dolls she'd made. It was far too easy to create a horror like this if the client made a mistake. She wanted to apologize to him, to try and comfort him, but she stayed silent, for fear that the sound of her voice would only make things worse. It had been his mistake, but her actions had resulted in the deaths of this man's family. She struggled to her feet and turned to leave, leaning on the wall as she moved. "No more dolls," she said aloud. "I'm not going to risk this happening again."